I ended up coming and wanting to get treatment and finding out about this place through a mutual friend named John Warren. The LA Times did a piece on him called Healing Sergeant Warren. And so he came here, I'd read the article, and I knew that he was struggling really bad. John and I were really close. We were actually in the same unit together, and when we were private stationed in Alaska, we were roommates. I've been suffering for about 3 years with PTSD, and it was getting worse. Because of my history with John and how well I knew him, and I knew how bad he'd been struggling because of the article, if he was doing good, and he was telling me that it was something that I want to check out, I had no doubt in my mind that this could be something that could help me. The Brain Treatment Center is basically it's a non-invasive neuromodulation clinic. Meat and potatoes of what we do here revolves around something called QEEG, which is quantitative EEG. The brain has a range in which its electrical signals will fire, and the quantitative EEG involves placing electrodes on the earlobes. Cartilage doesn't really transmit an electrical signal, so that gives us a baseline reading so we know what 0 is. Therefore, we can assign a number value to the range that they're firing in. I can't go too much into detail about how the analysis is done. That's a big company secret. We do have a proprietary algorithm that our team of doctors and scientists came up with a couple years back, and it allows us to isolate and look at areas of the brain that aren't firing the way they should be, and we can develop a special treatment protocol to get everything back in line. And the way that we do it is called MRT, for magnetic resonance therapy, and it's more of a individualized and specialized treatment tailored to the individual patient. The area on the body that gets treated is the head. What we do with transcranial magnetic stimulation and MRT is we look at the brain and we look at the intrinsic frequencies in the brain. And there's supposed to be some synchrony within these frequencies, and we can identify when there's not. And so the magnet, it creates a magnetic flux, and which can tug on the neurons in the brain and get them to light up. We'll tailor a treatment where the magnet fires at a very specific frequency, and we're kind of training the neurons and saying, okay, come on, wake up, we want you to go at this pace. People that come to the Brain Treatment Center for treatment, that would primarily be autism and PTSD and veterans, dementia and Alzheimer's. But the standard is once a day for 30 minutes, 5 days a week. There can be some discomfort associated. There's a lot of muscles and tendons and stuff that come through the forehead. I'd say the two main primary locations that I see people being treated at is bilateral anterior prefrontal cortex and bilateral prefrontal cortex. Sometimes there can be a little bit of sensitivity. It's a lot of people, when you ask them what does it feel like, there's really nothing else out there to compare it to, so it's kind of hard to describe. But the sensation can be a little intense for some people in the beginning. They do eventually get used to it. I was really blown away by how quickly I responded. A lot of the people here were blown away by how quickly I responded too. I actually responded after the very first treatment. The very first night after getting my treatment, I went home. I had no urge to smoke any marijuana, and I went to bed promptly at 9:30. I slept completely through the night, didn't even toss once, and woke up at 7 o'clock the next morning feeling like I hadn't felt in years. You would think to get from point A to point B with that would be months of time and energy and effort on my part. And it was 30 days of sitting under a coil for 30 minutes listening to classical music and relaxing.